Hey folks, welcome back to the channel. This week's video is going to be a bit shorter than normal. I didn't really get much done this week for a couple reasons. One of them is being health, and the other one will come across soon enough. But I did do a couple small things. I'll show them here, and hope to see you in a couple weeks. Hopefully I can get a bunch more done in a couple weeks. I got a bunch to do. Thanks for watching.
I haven't done much this week, but this is a nice, simple, quick win. Just put that back over there, a bunch of screws around it. Between the squirrels trying to get under, the draft that you could feel through the room, and it was also a security concern, being that you could just easily push that crappy brown wood paneling out of the way. So now it's fixed. I just need to buy some of that same beautiful brown paint that I put on the package shelf up front. And this would be good until it's time to remodel this whole room. All right, so we have a tech problem here. A couple nights ago, the internet went out, and after a while, the power was still on in the house. After a while, it came in here, and this rack was completely shut off. The UPS at the bottom had shut off. I turned it back on, everything seemed to be fine. And then the next night, at a different time, same thing happened. I transferred everything off of the UPS. It's running off the wall right now. But after doing a bunch of digging, it looks like it's possibly bad batteries in the UPS. So instead of several $100s to replace it, I should be able to pop those batteries out, take them down to a battery shop, and see if they got anything to replace it with, replace them, and hopefully that fixes the problem. So let's dig in. So for starters, the front little panel pops right off, and then there's two power connectors here for the batteries. So I need to, looks like maybe cut this zip tie, unplug these, probably label them so they get in the right position. And then there's 4 screws here in the corner that hold this in. I guess I should also unplug it from the wall and turn it off. All right, yeah, so with the metal bracket off and everything unplugged, it just slides right on out. Several units, and they're very heavy. It's good old lead acid for you. So I've measured these, looked at the specs, the model number and everything. I found an exact replacement on Amazon. It's $34 for 2 of them. I need 4 total.
But before I order here, I'm gonna run down to the battery shop and see if they have something there in stock. It's only a couple miles away. And then maybe I can get this replaced today. So I went to the local shop, battery shop, and they had this. It's about twice as expensive as going through Amazon, but I get it today. And there's storms rolling through and whatnot, so it's useful to have it today. So I'm gonna go ahead, pop this back in here, put our little bracket back on, close it up, turn it on, and if everything works fine, we'll transfer everything in the rack back over to this. So I decided to try and make the furnace a bit more efficient. When I programmed it, it was set to basically the burner starts, the fan kicks on 30 seconds after. It hits whatever temperature it's taking the temperature sensor from, the burner shuts off, and then a minute and a half later the fan shuts off. And that pretty closely mimicked the original behavior of the original thermostat setup. But I decided I wanted to collect more data on it and try to see if I can make it more efficient. So what I did was I took the environmental sensor that was in the basement and I moved that into the output of the furnace so I could see the temperature of the air leaving the furnace. So let's first start by taking a look at this chart. The yellow line, you'll notice, has a lot more dots, and that's the one inside the furnace. Every dot is every time that the device sent a measurement. I changed this one from 60 seconds to every 20 seconds, just so I could see exactly what was going on inside the thing. It comes in on the left and the temperature's coming down. That's basically after the burner has turned off and while the fan is still running. When it gets to that dip down at the bottom, that's when the fan stopped running, and you can see the temperature inside of it continue to rise. And then when it starts falling again rapidly, that's when the fan kicks on. And that's after the burner has already started and the fan has kicked on. So that's telling me there's a lot of heat left over in the furnace after it runs through a cycle. That's just sitting there doing nothing, not being used at all. So I decided to change this from from running on a timer to relaying on these temperatures that you see right here in front of us. Let's take a look at a different graph before and after making that change. Where this yellow circle is at the bottom is where I changed it from running off of a timer to running off of this temperature sensor. And I first set it to 85 degrees. And every other, basically the blue tick marks is where I made a note of what was happening. And after that circle, basically, the first line is the burner coming on. The second line is the fan coming on. The third line is the burner turning off. The fourth line is the fan turning off. And it continues in that cycle, those 4 steps in that order every time. So what happened is 85 degrees, it didn't cool it down enough to make a big change. So I changed it to 80 degrees. I worked down to 75, and that's roughly where I settled. But basically, the lower I got that temperature, the less heat seemed to stay in there, which is kind of indicated by the fact that when the fan turns on the last one, the temperature barely dips at all. So that was my idea of how to get that how to make this work longer and use that heat, and it seems to be working. The furnace burns a lot less. Let's take a look at another one real quick. So on this one, the furnace heat is the actual burner, so when it actually has flames, and the fan is, well, the fan. And you can see where I started making changes. Red is off, green is on, and the more I made changes, the more the fan stayed on, but the heat did not, the burner did not. So it's burning a lot less gas. Hopefully, this makes a noticeable difference in the bill, or this could just be a failed experiment, and I've screwed something up and somehow made the situation worse. So we'll find out. Thanks for watching the video this week. Catch you in a couple weeks. I hope I have a lot more in a couple weeks.